Hello, and welcome to the Mindmeld Live video podcast. The last one we did was Twitter Spaces, so if you want to get the full history, go check out our Twitter Spaces. There was a recording. We did a little round table, but we are back today on YouTube, and I'm Cairo. We have here Kenny, founder of Shell, and Erin from Gaslite here to talk about gas optimizations and all kinds of exciting things. So I will let them do their introductions and then we will get into the show. Kenny?
Sure, yeah, I'm Kenny. Those who have seen the Mindmeld Live podcast before know I'm the chief economist and founder. And I'm really excited to be here talking to Erin and learning about something that's near and dear to everyone's hearts all the time, but especially during bull markets, gas optimization.
Yeah, I'm Erin. I'm the co-founder of Gaslite. We are a smart contract development and gas optimization auditing company, and everything we do is with gas optimization front of mind.
And unfortunately, we will be losing Kenny to important secret Shell business in about half an hour, but we will enjoy him for the time that we have him. And I wanted to ask you, Erin, I heard just enough to pique my interest before the show, but I wanted to ask, how did you find your way into Web3? How did you end up here?
Yeah, so I think I'll always say I have a non-traditional entry, but everyone in this space has a non-traditional entry, so I don't know that I'm not unique. But
I'm not sure if we have tradition yet.
yeah, kind of have to be a little off the beaten path to have stumbled into crypto, but. Back when I was in college, I had some friends who are really geeked out on crypto and mining, and specifically, I was super pessimistic about it. I was like, this is super sketchy, shadowy, internet money. And so I first started learning about crypto just so I could tell them how wrong they were about all things crypto. That was like back 2015, 2016. By the time I graduated college, ICO boom happened in 2017. I started really paying attention to crypto and Web3 in a more optimistic way. At the same time, I was always on a law school path. So I, went to law school and started getting really geeked out just on philosophy of money, the law of money. And then I found, every paper I wanted to write was about crypto because there wasn't a ton that was out there that was written about it. It seemed just like the Wild West, everyone always says, but the Wild West of, this regulatory regime where I could really write, new and unique ideas and try to apply our current, regulatory regimes and laws to this new and interesting technology that I kind of had a background in. So I did that. I started at, my big fancy law firm, was working there for a while and just felt too disconnected from crypto. I was about to leave to go to a firm where I would be just doing crypto law work all the time. And kind of at that same intersection point, my co-founder approached me and was like, Erin, what if instead of, going to this other law firm to do law crypto work, what if you just did 100% crypto and helped me start this company? So lo and behold, Gaslite was born, and that was just, 9 months ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's so recent, and at the same time, that's like a couple of years in crypto time.
In crypto time, I know. We're actually working on a 2023 smart contracts wrapped, like a Spotify wrap, but for smart contracts. And we were like going back through, just everything that's happened this year. And we were like, what? Like that exploit happened in this calendar year? How can that be right? Because crypto
I want to
is.
see this when this comes out. This sounds delightful.
Yeah. We're excited about it.
Your top 5 biggest hacks, I guess. I wish that more crypto haters had your drive. I feel like they would end up being converts as well. And I guess the next part of this is, for those who don't know, tell us about Gaslight. How are you guys changing the world?
Sure. So, we started as just an auditing company. So, when we first launched, essentially, Harrison, my co-founder, his whole background is, he's the technical co-founder, and he had really started publishing these long form Twitter threads about gas optimization. Companies started reaching out to him and asking if he would review their code, and eventually got to a volume where, it was a sustainable business model. So when we first launched, we were just doing the auditing side of things. So we would, talk to a company, go into their code base, quote them, and then do kind of a deep dive on their entire code base, the architecture of how they had built their project, and then spend a lot of time giving recommendations with them and working with them to implement those recommendations, and then doing benchmarking to show the reduction in gas costs. So that's where we started, and we still do a lot of gas auditing. But as we've kind of grown as a company, we've expanded more into also doing smart contract development. So we've grown a really cool community Telegram group chat called Optimization Fans with just some of the smartest developers that we found in the space who really want to talk about optimization on a consistent daily basis, and who are really interested in it. And it's been an awesome source for us to just build community, find the best talent, find the people who really care about gas optimization, but also about really clean smart contract development. And now we also do development for companies who reach out to us and want to do not just the auditing side, but really want us to handle more of the bulk of either consulting with them on the architecture of building their protocol, or they want us to actually do the smart contract development. So we're both sides, the development and the auditing side now.
I want to mention real quick, and then I have a question. First, guys, if you're watching, the Mindmeld chat channel on our Discord is open. So if you have questions, comments, holiday cheer, please drop it in the chat. I have it open here, and I will intermittently read off your questions. So we're not looking at the YouTube comments, so if you do have a question, please drop it in Discord, Shell Protocol Discord. And my question, I guess in our experience on the deck side, we watched sort of what happened with like Uni v4, and like this idea that not only were they sort of writing their code to try and optimize for gas, they were actually sort of like lobbying the Ethereum Foundation to change like the costs, or like change the way that certain things were implemented at the Ethereum level, so that they could do the things they wanted to do more efficiently. Is that something that you think about, like how the gas costs of operations are going to change with updates from the foundation? And do you talk with them about that?
We haven't collaborated with the foundation, and I think for us, we look at what's right in front of us right now, what version of Solidity we're working with right now, and try to help the space with where it's at. Because I think what we see is a lot of people come to us and they're like, aren't you concerned that eventually like your business model will just be irrelevant? Like, aren't you concerned that eventually like all of these things will be fixed by the Ethereum Foundation or by other people in the space or by L2s? And ultimately, when we started this company, we really just saw the problem of gas fees and the issues that people have with trying to do like a minor trade and having to pay, $100 gas fee to buy a $50 NFT. And for us, our ethos has really always been that if gas is fixed across the space and our job is irrelevant, like that's the best outcome. Like if our jobs end up being obsolete, if in other sectors of the area we've improved gas so much that people don't need us, like that's a phenomenal outcome. So it's something that we think about, it's something that we talk and collaborate about, but I don't think it's it's not a business concern for us at this moment.
I think also just no matter like how optimized like the EVM gets or whatever layer 1, layer 2s become, there's always going to be like an efficient way to build something and a less efficient way to build something. And even if like the cost of a swap goes down to like a negligible amount, the thing is that like I kind of look at like blockchain throughput and gas costs is a bit like processing power, where and like bandwidth, where like if you give developers and product designers like more processing power, more bandwidth, they're just going to find more stuff to do with it. and you're always going to want to like shave that off and make it as efficient as you can, because I think for the foreseeable future, like computation on a blockchain is going to be trillions of times more expensive than computation in like a cloud server in some like warehouse somewhere. And so it's just going to be like, you're going to want to like reduce that cost. And I think personally, I think your guys business model is going to be valid for like centuries.
Yeah, and it's so interesting you bring up the, computation power, because, a lot of people assume like, oh, you're only working with projects that are deployed on mainnet, but we actually, our biggest customers have been on L2s, and we say, when we're helping a customer optimize who's built on an L2, we're optimizing for that computation power so that, they're not limited to, 50 minting 50 NFTs in a block, do 500, right?
Yeah.
And so one of our clients, we optimized them so much on L2 that they were able to deploy on mainnet and kind of unlock that liquidity. So I think there's so much that is not talked about or not optimized when people are writing, because it's such a new space. Solidity is relatively a very new programming language, and there's very few people who have such a height of expertise in it to know how to change it at the implementation level.
I guess this ties into something I asked on the Twitter Spaces, but I'm curious, with a project like Gaslite, where your clients are really like developers and other projects, is there still a place for more of sort of like an end user community, like a Discord or a Telegram, or is it really developers that are like the sort of the meat and potatoes of your community?
Of the community that we're running, it's definitely developers, but
Yeah.
we do find that when we're partnering with different projects, and we still end up with a lot of end user traction, and a lot of publicity comes from just generally people in the space who know who we are, not necessarily developers. So when we partner with with different companies and help them with their protocol, and kind of want to promote that, whatever company we're working with, whatever protocol is really putting gas fees front of mind, that they are doing everything in their power to reduce, the end impact on their user. We want to be connected to their end users too, and we do want, there to be kind of an expectation in this space that you are doing a gas optimization audit, that you are caring about gas fees and caring about the impact it's having on your users. So in that way, I think we do connect with end users, but the community that we run is right now, at least, limited to developers in the space.
I think in our experience, when we've had audits done or worked with outside parties on our code, we found them to usually be like booked out for many, many, many months. Do you feel like you're pretty much like, capacity constrained versus like lead constrained when it comes to what you're doing?
I don't find us to be capacity constrained, because we have a pretty flexible capacity model in which, like, we don't have other people who are working full time for us. We have like a pool of talent that when we need to expand out, we'll pull additional authors in. So right now, we haven't yet experienced, that pain point of like, oh my God, we have like all of these audits booked out and we don't have the, the people to handle them. We have been really strict and really locked down on who else we allow to be on the audits. And right now, as it's been, Harrison is still the lead auditor on every single one. And so eventually, as we scale, as we, grow more trust, we're moving away from that. But I think what we want as a company, what we want our brand to be, is just, the company that cares the most about exceptionally written code. And so our standards for who we're going to let onto our team are really high.
Have you been, I mentioned intents earlier. I'm just curious, have you been seeing projects come to you with like an intent model for their transactions as far as how they run their code, or not so much yet?
Not so much yet.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I feel like that probably partially has to do with the way intents sort of transfer the burden of gas savings to the solver,
Yeah.
Interesting. I don't know. Kenny, you've been in the trenches with Shell V3. How's the gas optimization from your perspective?
For Shell V3?
Yeah.
I mean, it's basically the same as Shell V2. I mean, I think kind of our philosophy in terms of gas optimization. I mean, there's a lot of things. There's a lot of like angles to attack. They're not mutually exclusive. Like they all kind of like add. They're all additive in my experience. It seems that like from an architecture standpoint, like if you can build your protocol to rely more on like reading and writing from memory and less reading and writing to storage, that seems to be sort of like, to my perspective, like usually like a relatively easy win if you can like it, but it requires like some like critical thinking in terms of like how do you set up the code to keep track of what's in memory, whereas like it's usually a little bit like less critical thinking to just like read and write it from storage, like especially if you're just like building like a proof of concept. But yeah, and then of course one thing that was kind of cool, because this code, we haven't really had this code looked at or audited since our Trail of Bits audit about 16 months ago. So we had like a code arena audit, and a lot of the code arena people had a lot of cool suggestions on like the gas optimization side of like, hey, you should do this in like assembly and not like using like regular scripts. I don't know. I mean, like I'm not a technical guy. But
no, assembly is great, but we do find like for our customers, we try not to introduce it just because it really screws with the readability and it can make your future security audits cost more. So we try to stray from that, but it does reduce gas costs. So fair enough.
I guess. Well, I mean, I thought it was interesting. I don't know. Like, again, I'm not saying it was a good or bad idea. I guess I'm kind of curious, Erin. Like, when you guys do like a gas optimization audit, or just a general like code quality audit, what are the big things you guys look for and find is worth focusing on?
Yeah, I mean, I think we just look for primarily, and I'll say this as the non-technical co-founder, so we're a bit
we're all in the same boat here,
pushing the bounds of my expertise a bit. But generally, I mean, we look for a lot of redundancies in the code. We look for where storage is being wasted, and yeah, generally, I mean, we also end up, I find, because I do like I'll help with the final reports where we're kind of synthesizing to communicate what we've done to the non-technical people myself. But we're generally like also reducing like general lines of code because we again find a lot of redundancies in code bases that are doing the same loop over and over again, or they have several parts of a contract that are accomplishing the same that are creating the same mechanism. So I know that just from a general perspective, that's what we kind of bop in look at. We also look at what version of Solidity a company's using. So if they're using a super outdated version of Solidity, that can contribute to having messy inefficiencies within the code base. So those are my top of mind. And then we look also lightly for, if we see security bugs, we'll point them out, we'll grab them. But generally, if someone wants like a full scale security audit as well, we'll bring in a security company to work with us on the audit.
I guess one thing that I think is really cool about being like a smart contract auditor is that you get exposed to a lot of projects in Web3 across many different verticals, and not just are you exposed to them, but you get exposed to them early on. So do you have any like any trends you see that you think are really interesting in terms of what people are building? Like what are you looking for? Because I see you guys are about like 6 months. What you guys see today is like going to be like
you're seeing like 6 months into the future.
So what are you seeing that like gets you excited for the next 3 to 6 months?
Yeah, definitely. Such a good question. And when I worked at like a crypto law firm for a little while, and I got to see so many cool projects there. I call it like the God view, when you get to like see everything that's happening in this space instead of just one thing. But when I was at the crypto law firm, you're locked down on anything you can talk about it, even if they're your client, because it's, attorney-client privilege. So it's so cool now. I'm like, I can talk about all the cool things.
Do
Something we're
projects ask you to like keep things in confidence ever, or are they the opposite? Are they like, please talk about this, like,
Yes,
spread our
mostly the opposite. We
okay.
do always go through like what confidentiality agreements they want. Of course, I'm like, with my background, we always go through the, what's confidential, what's not, what do you want us talking about? But most people are like, please talk about it more. I think, Cairo, me and you were talking about this a little beforehand with your background, but I'm really excited about the gaming that's coming out in crypto right now. We worked with Pixel Vault, which was one of our bigger clients over the summer. And I hadn't really been paying attention to the crypto gaming space before that. And I was just, really impressed to see how far it's come since, from a few years back, I'd be at hackathons and we'd see like people creating a crypto game, but there was no point in the actual gaming. Like it was really like creating another way for us to have a token go all over the charts. So to see people building in the gaming space, that's something I've been really paying attention to. I also just read a book called Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow, which is about like a guy and girl co-founder who co-found a gaming company, and so gaming's been top of mind for me. So that
fiction or nonfiction?
it's a fiction book, which is fun because there aren't a ton of like relatable fiction books.
Yeah, that's very
at this
specific.
point in my
Cool.
life. Like, it was a little bit easier when you could find a lot of fiction books about, random lawyers in New York City, but not a lot of fiction books about girly pop tech founders. So, so it was really fun to read, but had me back in the gaming and like crypto gaming headspace. And then the other thing I've been really paying attention to lately is Base. And I think like Base has been a really fascinating new project. We were just at Art Basel and they had a whole installation on the Base house that you could go to and kind of like go in and have a really seamless user experience of like buying a coffee, the classic, can you buy a coffee with crypto? Buy a coffee with on Base. And so I think everything that Jesse is doing with that team and really moving forward in a way that's getting crypto to a place of, having that perfect end user experience, and having L2 that is kind of separate from the monetary incentivization, right? Because they just have Coinbase backing them. To my knowledge, they're not planning to like launch a token or anything at any point, and so
they've been pretty adamant about that.
Yeah, it's interesting to see what's being developed on Base. So those are my like top of mind things right now.
Regarding games, do you see people, are they deploying, like I know Arbitrum Nova was sort of designed for games. Where do you see them deploying?
Yeah, Arbitrum has, I think, been the most popular one that we've seen.
Kenny, by the way, feel free to cut loose whenever you gotta go. Yeah.
Oh yeah, we're losing Kenny.
I know.
Oh, Kenny.
Anything else you want to say about gas or lights or shell? Yeah, Kenny, I feel Kenny, we need to interrupt this for like a ultra fast like shell update before you go.
Yeah. Ultra fast shell update. Getting close to the end of the year. People are starting to power down, but internally we're starting to power up and really get cracking for Shell V3 and token generation event. Other than that, we'll have some updates, some like proper updates soon, probably at the beginning of the next year. And I think one thing I'll be thinking about when I'm, we'll take some time off. I think we all will over Christmas, even though this will be a pretty busy holiday season for us. One thing I'll be contemplating is, I think one thing we haven't really succeeded in doing on our end is really conveying like the scale of the Shell V3 vision and really what it entails, and how important a marketplace for DeFi protocols really is going to become. And so I'm going to be thinking about meditating in my mind about how do we distill this vision in a way that people can not just understand but also get excited about. And one thing I wanted to ask you, Erin, is Cairo mentioned that you surfed before the podcast. started. Where are you based, and what kind of surfing do you like to do?
Yeah, so I'm based in Brooklyn, but I've, spent a lot of time. I grew up out east on Long Island, so like Montauk, Ditch Plains. I like grew up kind of knowing how to surf, but not particularly well. And I think it's really actually just been certainly since starting Gaslite in this past summer that I was like, I need some part of my day where I can't look at my phone, where I physically can't look at my phone. And I'm sure respect this as a founder, that if you just allow yourself to be with your phone 24/7, you will be on and you will be working 24/7. And so I was kind of looking for, an outlet where I could force myself to not have my phone with me. And I just started surfing, and I was like, oh, I'll stop like when it gets cold in September. And then I did it. And I was like in October, and then I did it. November, I did it. Now I have my 5 mil, my booties in my hood. It's December in New York, and I'm still going out. So I'm mostly, I'm still pretty new to being a consistent surfer. So I'm still, predominantly longboarding and catching like nice cruising waves in and ditch planes. But I'm excited. I told Cairo I'm going to be in LA for New Year's. So I'm going to surf down probably like Huntington Beach. And then I'll be in Hawaii in March. So I do some surfing over there.
We can go surf together in Hawaii when you're here.
Yes, please. I'll be on Big Island and Lanai, but I think I'm also adding in a Honolulu trip because I have some friends over there. So yes, I will come to you, Kenny.
Thank you. With that, I got to sign off. Erin, it was great to talk to you. And I hope to talk to you again soon, but in person in Honolulu.
Yeah, sounds great.
Bye, guys.
And bye, Kenny. I'll give my part of the shell update here really quick. I know Kenny is working on this, sharing the V3 vision. I want to make sure you guys have everything you need as far as the practical details of the token launch. You guys have been asking good questions like, whether you should be preparing ETH or USDC or what to expect as far as time and how the vesting and NFTs are going to work. So we've been collecting all your questions, and we've been ironing out the NFTs for vesting, and we'll share some screenshots of the UI and a very detailed explanation soon, so there won't be any surprises when we actually do launch. I may or may not be taking some time off. I kind of don't like to say when I'm taking time off, just because I'm like the point for the Discord. And I feel like if I ever announce that I'm like on vacation, that's just like raising a massive flag, like come try and hack our server, So,
I was like, how are people going to know not to ask you questions? And you're like,
well, they'll just ask, and I'll answer. Or we actually have a brilliant community moderator, Kim Noof, who seems to, I'm not sure if he's an insomniac or what, but he's like always online. So some have speculated he's a bot just for his superhuman abilities, but Eliza met him and she can confirm he's just a real guy. But yeah, between the two of us, we try and keep the community informed and somewhat well behaved. And I mean, we've had some people we've delayed. Well, we haven't delayed. We've pushed our estimate for TGE a couple times in the past. So now, of course, we have our date, and people are saying, "Oh, you're going to push it again," and like maybe, but we have a countdown. We're very committed. Kenny's going to lock us all in a house in LA, and he's not going to let us out until we finish on time. So I'm pretty committed. I think we're pretty committed to the token coming out when it does. I have more questions about auditing, and if there's anything that you feel like is not your place to answer, just go ahead and blow me off, Erin. But I wanted to ask, like, so I assume you guys are a U.S. company, you're U.S. incorporated, and I feel like being an audit firm actually has a much more traditional business model than say like being a DeFi protocol with a token.
Correct.
Like I feel like if you're a DeFi protocol with a token and you have like a foundation in like the Cayman Islands and stuff, your lawyers and your accountants are kind of like, we're not sure what we're doing here. But like you're essentially just selling like technical expertise.
Yes.
So do you see that as like a smaller like risk profile, or how do you feel about that?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. And that was part of the reason I felt more comfortable like hopping to a company like this. Of course, the other side of that is like, higher risk, higher reward, lower risk, lower reward. We are like a service-based company. We do have, we do also build things. So we build Gaslite Drop, which is the most efficient way to airdrop an ERC 721 token. We built like a payment splitter. We're working on some other fun things, but those are all, free public goods. And at least in the short term, we don't, plan to monetize those. We want our public goods to be used by the community and be another way to reduce gas savings across the board. So, our primary business model is a service-based business model. So it's not like, we have a token that one day can 100x and then we're going to be zillionaires. It's not it's not potentially there. It's not on the upside. It's not in the roadmap. So I think there are a lot of people who, maybe want to work in a crypto company because they might get that token and then might, become a billionaire overnight or something. And certainly that is not where the perspective we were coming from. We really came with just a goal for what we want from the space, to see, better smart contracts out there, to see less gas waste. And we have a, business that luckily for us, we're totally bootstrapped, we're profitable, we can sustain for a while. So I think
I mean, I don't know. I feel like there's been, even at Shell, the talk of like, how much of your treasury do you keep in like ETH versus stables? It's do you have opinions on that?
Yeah, we don't keep anything that's
volatile.
Yeah. And mostly from like a tax perspective and like we don't want to be taking gains and losses on the way that we're being paid. Maybe when we have, a more sophisticated regulatory understanding of what's happening in the world, we'll change our mind on that. But for the most part right now, we function predominantly in stables or fiat.
Do you have a stable coin that you prefer, or for whatever reason, like the structure of the bank? No, they're all pretty equivalent.
No, it's mostly USDC that we're transacting in, but each their own.
On the completely opposite side of that, I wanted to ask you, just for fun, if you say you were going to take like a 6-month sabbatical and like technical skill is not an issue and like regulatory is not an issue, what would you want to build? Just like your heart's desire.
That's such a good question. I really think I'm in this like video game mode right now. And some part of that is just, there's a nostalgia and like a return to, a world outside of our world. There's almost like a fantasy escape that comes with the idea.
What are the games that inspire you?
So I've been really, again, back on my nostalgia BS, and I've been thinking about like a really like a retro like Spyro, Crash Bandicoot, like Mario Kart. So I've been in my, again, maybe it's Christmas time, maybe it's reading my, fiction book that I just read, but I've been really fascinated with the idea of like, it's almost where we first saw these online communities being built is through video games, and especially through open world video games. And I've, from an early time when I would describe crypto or, be trying to explain like the point of having an internet money, a global internet money. A lot of times people came back to like, well, isn't it just like, fake online internet, like video game money? And for me, I was like, yeah, it kind of is, except if that's the world you're living in, then it's not fake money. You're in that closed loop system, but it's real within whatever world you're functioning in. So I think like crypto and the alternate video game worlds have this, kind of beautiful relationship.
Yeah. Oh
no, Cairo.
Are we cutting out? Am I back? Erin. I don't know if it's me or you. I think I've lost her. Ladies and gentlemen, we are down to one person on the show, which is not really a podcast, it's more of a monologue. So, we do have a question from Eliza. We'll see if we can get Erin back here. Oh. Did we lose everybody? Seems like we even lost me. Well, that might be a sign. We usually go a little longer, but if we've lost our connection, maybe we'll wrap this one up. I'll wait another minute and see if we get Erin back. Chat, can you see and hear me? Check in with the Discord channel. The elites don't want us to know about Crash Bandicoot. I think that's the answer. They're shutting down our conversation. Okay. So you can see me. Eliza, can you see and hear Erin? Because if you can see and hear both of us and we just can't see each other, that is unfortunate. All right. Well, I'm going to cut this one short, guys. If you're watching the recording, you've seen about 2 minutes of technical difficulties here. But I think we'll see if we can get Erin on another time. And maybe get Kenny and or Eliza as well. But thanks for tuning in, and Merry Christmas.